this music could get us copyright strike.
Wrong.
Or
Something has really gone wrong. The misconceptions about weight science are astounding. Suspend your preconceptions and a very different picture emerges. One where it's the machinery of weight stigma that needs dismantling. Hi, I'm Dr.
hey, the machinery of weight stigma needs dismantling. That sounds a lot like. That sounds like Ex-Shia, like it's just the language is like woke language.
Linda Bacon, and I'm devoted to creating a global transformation that focuses on body respect, not the war on weight. My work is inspired by lessons learned through 3 graduate degrees in weight science, including a PhD in physiology, as well as clinical and research experience, and having healed from my own personal suffering around weight. Let me briefly walk you through the weight health minefield. Right now, that minefield is littered with 2 treacherous assumptions. One is that fat kills. The second is that being fat will make you sick. Does fat kill? Let's look at the facts. To write my dissertation, I had to review the evidence that obesity increases mortality. And guess what? I couldn't find it. In fact, there are about 40 peer-reviewed epidemiologic studies on this topic, and all but a handful contradict the popular wisdom that fat kills. What most studies show is that people considered overweight and mildly or moderately obese live at least as long as, or longer, than people deemed normal weight. The data are a little more complicated at the extremes of underweight or obesity.
Just remember that part. They're a little bit more complicated at the extreme ends. Okay.
The extremes of underweight or obesity.
So let's replay that one part again.
Longer than people deemed normal weight. The data are a little more complicated at the extremes of underweight or obesity, so I won't get into that here. Even though the practical application I discuss works at the extremes too. But understand that I'm talking about the vast majority of the so-called overweight and obese population in this discussion. Some of the most comprehensive data on weight and mortality comes from government statisticians at the Centers for Disease Control, using data from the highly respected NHANES study, the largest nationally representative cohort of US adults. Their results, published in JAMA, found that people in the overweight category lived longest, and people who were mildly or moderately obese lived as long as those in the normal weight category. They also acknowledged that, quote, this finding is consistent with other results reported in the literature, unquote. Okay, so we don't have evidence that fat is the killer it's made out to be, you may be thinking, but it clearly causes disease. Does it? Well, let's see.
By the way, if we haven't gotten into it yet, but if any, just remember why you're listening to this. But if what she's saying is BS, these ideas spreading, healthy at every weight and all that crap, this is dangerous. Telling people this is absolutely dangerous. Well, we'll get to whether any of this is right or wrong, right? But if this causes disease and people with PhD are going out there and telling you that it doesn't, imagine the number of people that will be suffering and be put at risk because of these ideas circulating. And they call us toxic.
If yellow teeth are common among people with lung cancer, do yellow teeth cause cancer? If bald men are prone to heart disease, does losing your hair make your ticker go bad?
So she's just trying to say, like, correlation is not causation, obviously, but with the research, what we have to show is whether research shows that it's not just a correlation, but also causation. And most research papers where they are very careful to not associate correlation with causation. That's what most peer-reviewed academic research are there for to do.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Epidemiology shows us relationships, but not causality.
They clarify if if it in the research if this proves causation or not.
It shows an association between baldness and cardiovascular problems, for instance, but not the fact that elevated testosterone is implicated in both. And common sense tells us that yellow teeth, like lung cancer, can result from smoking. Likewise, there are many factors that confuse the relationship between weight and health. For example, let's look at fitness. The Cooper Institute in Dallas, Texas, has been gathering data on a large group of patients, examining the question of what's more important, fitness or fatness. Their research has been providing a consistent answer to the question for 2 decades now. When fitness is considered, body mass index is almost irrelevant. In fact,
remember that term, body mass index, and also notice that the dislike has been closed and the comment section has been turned off.
Fat but fit people fare much better than quote-unquote normal weight people who are unfit. Dr. Stephen Blair is a researcher at the Cooper Institute. He likes to say, I was short, fat, and bald when I started running, but after running nearly every day for more than 30 years and covering about 70,000 miles, I'm still short, fat, and bald. I'm glad that Dr. Blair is involved in this research. At least he knows that fitness appears to be the key factor in protecting our health, no matter how much he weighs.
There are multiple factors, obviously. You could be, yeah, I mean, but we'll get to that. It's just because you're saying there are other factors that could attribute to your health, that doesn't deny the multiple other factors. Just because you're like, oh, this is an actual factor in health. That is not an argument for why this other thing is not a factor in your health.
Next, consider discrimination and stigmatization.
Oof.
It's tough to live in a fatter body in this culture, socially and otherwise. Think about what it must be like for larger people, that is, most Americans, to confront daily in the papers, magazines,
That's her study, by the way. Think about it. Just think about it. She's going to argue that people being stressed out, that's over being fat, that's the major source of their health risk. Like if you're fat and you're stressed about the fact that being fat, that's why you have that stress causes health issues. But her citation is, think about it.
television shows and commercials, that their bodies are unattractive and constitute a horrifying public health crisis. To hear assumptions from dietitians and other healthcare practitioners that because of a physical characteristic, their weight, they must be unhealthy and engaging in poor self-care. Everyone, fat or thin, is severely harmed by this message. It teaches all of us to see larger people as problematic and to fear becoming fat ourselves. There are few legal protections, despite well-established facts that heavier people are less likely to be hired, promoted, or make comparable money to thinner people working in the same positions, and that they received less.
Okay, Water's saying this is literally not what she said. I'm saying that I'm guessing this is where she's headed. Just wait a second. God damn it. If she doesn't say that, then I'm going to be like, oh, I went into a different direction. I said this is where she's leading. Hold on.
Less adequate medical care.
God damn it.
Weight bullying has steadily increased over the years and is now the most commonly reported form of bullying. Stigmatization and discrimination are known to cause stress, and stress is a risk factor for many of the diseases we blame on obesity.
Look at this. Water saying that's literally not what she said. That is actively dishonest. There you go, Water. Was I being actively dishonest? How do you feel like now? Huh? Do you feel stupid?
Including cardiovascular disease and diabetes. And as an aside for anyone tempting to suggest that discrimination is just another argument to encourage weight loss, well, isn't that just blaming the victim? Of course, I'm not saying that everybody who is fat is healthy. I'm not saying that everybody is at an ideal weight. I'm not dismissing the notion that weight affects health.
Oh, look
What
at this. I like it. Sorry. Yeah, good. See, water is accepting mistake. Oh, water saying, "Oh my, all right, my bad, AR." Oh, okay. Maybe no, maybe my bad as well because maybe I wasn't very clear about saying that. I'm guessing she's gonna be. This is where it's heading instead of saying this is what she already said. Okay, my bad as well, water.
what I am saying is that the relationship between weight and health has been wildly exaggerated, and that by focusing on fat and weight rather than body respect, we overlook how complicated it actually is and miss our opportunity to make changes that have proven to be successful. We stand on much firmer ground when we focus on improving health directly rather than using weight as a mediator. Look for another video in this series.
All right. Okay. So let me unmute. Let me mute this. Okay, Vince, say something to see if there's echo. Probably not.
Hello, hello.
All right, good. No echo. Okay. But before I start, I just want to, like she mentioned the CDC. We have a CDC here, right? Is this the CDC? Yeah. All right. So this is not a study. This is just a CDC right now. But I mean, CDC usually is have like when they have something, there's a lot of it's based on a lot of citations and stuff like that, right? But just because she mentioned CDC, let's just look at CDC really fast. The health effects of overweight and obesity, according to the CDC, Center of Disease Control. People who have obesity compared to those with normal or healthy weight. Okay, so this is a very good way of phrasing it, okay? Because just because you're obese, it's possible for you to be obese and be healthier than somebody that is not obese because the person that is not obese might have other reasons, like they might be a smoker, right? So you might be obese and somebody might be not obese, but you're healthier than that not obese person because that not obese person is smoking and you're not a smoker, okay? So obviously, obesity is not just the only factor, but all else being equal, obesity is one of the factors. Okay, so again, CDC when they write something, they're very careful about the way they phrase it. People who have obesity compared to those with a normal healthy weight are at increased risk for many serious diseases and health conditions, including the following: all causes of death. Okay, all causes of death: high blood pressure, high LDL cholesterol, low HDL cholesterol, or high level of, I don't know what this is, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke. I don't know what this disease is. Here's another disease. Sleep apnea. Here's another problem. Here's another problem. Low quality of life. Mental illness such as clinical depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders. Body pain and difficulty with physical functioning. So that was just the CDC. But we have a lot more to share. But go on. Vince, do you want to say something?
Yeah, a quick Google search from credentialed places says like the exact opposite of what she said. So the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases basically says what kinds of health problems are linked to overweight and obesity: type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease and stroke, certain types of cancer. And we get that she's credentialed, right? But we also have to make sure, or we also have to be clear, I can find someone who has a PhD in astrophysics who thinks you're at the 6,000 years old. In fact, I found those people. So just because she's credentialed and knows more about this than us, without a doubt, that doesn't mean she's correct, because we can also just point to other experts. Here's another one from Harvard, basically saying the same thing. Yes, being overweight is a concern. And she said one thing that was interesting. She said, she specifically, and you mentioned this as well, she said, ignoring the extreme ends of like the overweight people, probably the people that would very easily obviously show these symptoms. So she's just saying overweight. But that's like a huge freaking like portion of the population. 39% of people in the United States are considered overweight. So that's obviously going to include people who are just like at the very, very like tip of that iceberg of being considered overweight, which probably won't exhibit many of the same symptoms as someone on the extreme end, which is what most people think of when they think of like being obese and being overweight. Obviously, if people thought like realistically, they would be able to easily pinpoint someone in the United States walking down the street and being like, well, 39% chance that person is overweight. But that's, not how it works.